Everybody there?
Hello.
It's a little slow tonight.
How you doing?
Good. Good, good, good. Uh, Long meeting today, but other than that, everything's just peachy.
Well, you've got to love a long meeting.
Oh yeah, they said it's going to be brief. And
And I
so I
bet
set
you
the
were
over
fine.
under at 2 hours and it went over. That's
Mm,
not hardly brief.
no, it's not. And it probably wasn't even a very informative meeting.
No, no. I caught up on my emails and other stuff, wrote a letter, that kind of thing.
I remember when they gave us iPads, and I remember sitting in, I don't even remember where we were. We might have been at, where HR is now. We might have been in that room.
That's over in the Gateway, isn't it? On the west side, over off of,
What's that old building, that old school? I can't think
oh,
of it. That they started using a few years ago. And there's some other offices over there too.
Spa.
Yes, maybe. Um, but I remember they gave them out to us, and I'm thinking, we didn't pay attention in meetings as it
Already.
was. Now you're not gonna have anybody's attention.
Nah, no, 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 nobody's even gonna be looking up. Not smart. Not smart. No. All right. Oh, well, I think everybody's on that's gonna be on tonight. All right. So let me share my screen, and we're not going. All right. Can y'all see that? There's my stars of the not only the week but the semester. All four of these folks finished their skip this semester. Yay! Great job,
That's
Kayla,
fantastic.
LaFaith, Raquel, and Courtney. And everybody else needs to get finished up too, which leads me to the first thing tonight. You need to have all of your work completed by Wednesday from today, that 1 week. You got 1 week to finish everything up, and I got to turn grades in. So try to have everything done and in by next Wednesday. You can continue to work on your skip if you're not done. Um, I'm telling you, you'll thank us later on when it gets to be summer and it's like it just starts and then it ends, and you got to have everything done. As I have cautioned you, if you have to finish your tastering portfolio, they'll charge you 3 credit hours just to finish your portfolio. That's $2,000 just to finish up your portfolio. So make sure that you get these evidences knocked out, your competency folio, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Maraglia to talk about that.
Well, that is a perfect segue because my stars of the week are Tamika, LaFaith, Courtney, and Raquel, because they have their internship logs in and they are good to go with their portfolio this semester. Raquel, yours in particular, I can tell you've really done a lot. I mean, like you're ahead of the game on some things. So those are my stars of the week. So my two that need to finish up, um, I need you to please remember to request comments so I can see what you have uploaded, because right now I can't see anything with your portfolios, and make sure that you have your signed internship logs along with your artifacts.
Dr.
Definitely
Maraglia, I'm
yes.
sorry. I was listening to you. So when I went to request comments, you're not listed as one of my viewers.
Uh-oh, because you're in a different DRF, I think. All right. I think that's the issue. So what I need to do. So Kayla, what semester did you start?
23, I think.
Yeah, see
Spring
that?
2023.
All right. Let me go look right quick. Y'all can see behind the curtain here.
Kayla, did you say spring of 23?
Yes, I think that's right.
Okay.
All right, so that would be
So sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just
Oh no,
no.
that's
That's
okay. I mean, this
good.
was important. Um, while he's looking, just make sure you have your artifacts for your OMA. If you've done your skip, go ahead and get those uploaded as well. If you've got any that you could do with open-ended, just to get yourself ahead of the game. And then your internship log. Those are your key pieces that you need. And remember that you get I give you a grade 2 for your internship. So I want to make sure that everybody's good to go there.
ma'am.
All right. So Kayla is in 20-month program spring 23. All right. She should be, let's see. Mhm. 21st century competencies. I believe it's already there. Yep, it should be there. I don't know. If I am there, select me.
I was going to say, I just selected all. And Dr. Lane, you were there, but there were a couple of people I wasn't familiar with, but I just sent it
All
anyway.
right. All right. So let me see. There you are. All right. I'll get to you. I'll finish that tonight. I'll look at what you got tonight. Good.
Perfect.
So everything's working. All right. And Dr. Maraglia, you can go in under reviewer under spring 23, MSA 20, and see if there's anything there for you. If not, I'll get it. All
Okay.
right. Not a problem. All right. So, all right. So again, our class ends tonight. Um, we want everything in by a week from today. I'll have to turn final grades in. Everybody's done well. Don't worry about that part. Everything's good. Um, I want to put a quick pitch in for y'all will finish in this summer and be ready for your next program by the fall. Um, I'm in charge of the doctoral program at Gardner Webb. You can come back with us in the fall and start your doctorate. That would be a good idea. Or I'm going to have a new program by fall. I'm going to have an EDS program, a standalone EDS program, no dissertation, 36 hours, and you can get your superintendent's license. You'll have your principal's license when you finish this summer. You can get your superintendent license. It's only 36 hours, no dissertation, no projects or any of those kinds of things. Um, you can get paid on the EDS scale as an administrator, or if you're in South Carolina, it qualifies for that plus 30. And so um, I'm getting in the process of getting that approved using existing courses. It should be ready to roll by fall of 26. And the beauty of it is if you do that 36 hours and you want to get your doctorate, you just do the research block and dissertation afterwards. So it does carry to the doctoral program. Or you can do the doctoral program and do working dissertation all along, take the research block, and then at the end of coursework, you can get your EDS if you want to do it that way. I would recommend the new way that I'm going to have for you. And if you don't want to do a doctorate, but you can go back later if you want to, you got 7 years. But be thinking of your next step. You've invested this much so far. When you get that first job, I mean, the way that you make money in this business and move up is to get those degrees. They're like union cards. Um, this is the first step, the most important one. But after that, you don't need to quit now. If you don't come to Gardner Webb, that's fine, but you need to go somewhere. You got to make money in this business. We've talked all semester about not losing your house. I hate to be mercenary about it, but this is a business. And you need to capitalize and make as much money and move up as much as you can. Because there's going to be a time that you're going to be old like me, if you're lucky. Hopefully you won't have as many aches and pains, but you will be old. And your retirement's based on how much money you make during your career. And so and careers are not over after 30 years. That's when you switch to a private college or cross the state line and you keep on earning. And again, all these things help you do that. So I'll put a plug in now. Don't forget about us. Um, you know, and if you want to go somewhere else, that's fine. We'll recommend you for there too. But don't think you're done this summer. This is the first step, the most important one. But the steps need to continue. You need to
What's
go
the
as
name
far as
of
you can.
your, I'm sorry, Dr.
Go
Lamb.
right
What's the
ahead.
name of your new, of the program?
Well, we have a Doctor of Educational Leadership, but we're going to
Hmm.
have an EDS option starting
Hmm.
a standalone. Right now, you can declare for the EDS after you do all the coursework and do the research block and all that. But we're going to shortcut that where you can just do the coursework, and then it's just 3 semesters. It's just 3 semesters, and you can have your EDS. 3 semesters, 11 months, and you can have your EDS and get paid on the EDS level, have your superintendent's licensure, get paid on the EDS level, um,
Hmm. Okay.
which you know, and be most of the way towards your doctorate if you want to continue, or if you want to pause after that and then come back. I think it's going to be a really attractive option. Um, and so it won't be cheap. Nothing's cheap nowadays, though, but it will be quick. What is it they say in the business world? Cheap, quick, good. You can have two, but not three of those. It'll be good and it'll be quick, but it won't be cheap. That's the way schooling is now. But I like this better than the current version where everybody has to go into the doctoral program from the very beginning, and you have to do the extra classes, you have to do the research block. A lot of people don't just want their EDS, just want to be done with that for a while and then think later that they might come back, or some people don't want to come back. Writing a dissertation is an ordeal. And this gives you the option to not get involved with all of that up front until you get your coursework out of the way. Then you can continue on, or you can terminate with the EDS after 36 hours and get paid. Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, Dr. Maraglia, I interrupted you. What's next?
Well, I did send you a text that you said that you thought I might be able to see Kayla's under spring of 23, and I can't see anything under spring of 23.
All right. I've got you added in that. I'll look, but I'll go back and do that. That won't be a problem. I'll catch that tonight. All right. Okay, so let's talk about our last thing for the evening. Let me share my screen for the semester. We've saved this one to last. Title IX. And sexual harassment. And so Title IX mandates. This works for colleges and it works for public schools. And here is I've uploaded this one, and it talks about the mandates. You can get the demo. I do have a video already in here. Let's see. I do have a video. If you want to watch a video, it's not that long. It's only about 23 minutes long if you want to see that one. But the main thing is going back to our disciplinary data manual, all the things that you're required to do in terms of sexual harassment, and it has all of the guidance in here. But you need to remember bullying, harassment, all these things that have to be reported. The one thing that I would say to you that I think is most important, and I'll stop my share, is involve law enforcement. And you say, well, is it really a crime? Yes, sexual harassment's a crime under Title IX. That's federal law. Yes, it is a crime, but many times it's more than that. When a person comes in and makes the initial report, that's when I would have law enforcement present. One of the things that school people make the mistake is, well, this is just verbal. And then when you start digging into it, all of a sudden, wait a minute, there was more to it than just the verbal. There might have been a physical piece to it. But what I'll tell you right now is the police don't like it when you complicate their investigation. And I'll give you a couple examples. Girl comes in and says, I've been sexually harassed. Well, sexual harassment, that is verbal. And then she says, well, he grabbed me, and said this to me. Now we've gone from sexual harassment to sexual assault. Law enforcement's supposed to be there. You didn't bother to call them. So I would make sure that I had the police there no matter what, because even if it just turned out to be a verbal altercation of some sort, I'd still want the police to be able to hear that and see if they wanted to follow up with it. We generally have a pretty good relationship with our school resource officers, but remembering they don't work for us. And they don't like it when we make their job harder by getting involved in things that we shouldn't be involved in, where it taints the evidence or people know to hide or cover up or whatever. I think about the situation at North Meck years ago where the assistant principal, went out and started an investigation and come back, and it was a lot worse than originally reported. And then the police chief in the town of Huntersville, which remember, school resource officers are tied to the town that the school is in. And Huntersville PD just absolutely threw them under the bus and said, "We're quite sure a crime was committed, but since the school initiated an investigation without us, and we're no longer sure about the evidence, we can't go forward because we don't think that our evidence would be admissible in court. We're quite sure a crime was committed, but we can't go any further." And of course, what did that leave us to do in Charlotte? But to get rid of all the administrators there at the school, because that's such a bad public look. That and part of that is not interpreting the law correctly. Again, sexual harassment is a violation of the law. Go ahead and get the police. If it turns out to be a sexual assault offense, sexual offense or rape down the road, then you're covered. If there's more to it than just the verbal piece. That particular case, again, they didn't. The assistant principal didn't read the law correctly, in that, in under all of the sexual violations of law, we have the notion of at a certain point there's this notion of consent, but EC kids can't consent anytime. You got to know that. So if the kid involved is an EC kid, they don't care how old they are. They can't consent. And so that's not a thing for them. And she completely misinterpreted that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is another layer of, you better know what you're doing. We've tried to make you as aware as we could this semester. And EC is really hard already. And here are all your scenarios in the handbook. All right. Right here. A person is guilty of sexual battery if he or she, for the purpose of sexual abuse, engaged in sexual contact with another person, if the person is mentally disabled, incapacitated, or physically helpless. That's what we're talking about right there. And that's for all of them. Sexual offense is the same thing. Sexual assault, sexual battery, sexual harassment. Those people cannot consent. They cannot consent. So I get that from time to time, is this person was a willing participant. If they're EC, I don't care if they're 16, 7. The girl at North Meck in that case was 16 years old, and they said, well, she was willing participant in this. Yeah, but she was self-contained EC. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So the main thing is, sexual harassment is a crime. We all know what it is. Inappropriate comments, inappropriate touching, battery, offense, assault, rape, indecent, all that stuff is a crime. You need to have the police there. You need to make sure that the police are present when you're doing these things, so that you don't get in the way of their investigation. Now, some of you may work in some of the bigger districts that have special investigators, like Charlotte Mecklenburg has their own police force, and they don't have school resource officers. What they have are detectives that do this kind of work almost exclusively. Back in the day, Kenny and Angie were the two that we had. We had a male and a female. I'm sure they're long gone, but we had two back in the day, and that's all they did. And so when you had a report, you called them. Now, if you don't have that, you need to get in touch with your resource officer. But this is not one of those things that you need to go on your own. You are not qualified to be doing investigations of this nature by the definition of the law. Now, one of the articles that I've got in 2020, the law on Title IX changed. Now, let me pull that up right quick. Let me share that. What I want to say about it is this. Everybody now is a responsible person. This tells about it right here, and we're going to talk more about that. All right. The terminology up until 5 years ago was persons responsible. All right. So when I was a principal in CMS, or when I was in the central office there, I was the person's responsible. You only had like 3 or 4 people on a campus who were designated to be the persons responsible for reporting or following up. That law changed 5 years ago. Everybody is a responsible. If you get a check, you are now a responsible person. What does that mean? That means if somebody makes a report to you, it's on you now. They have handed you that ticking time bomb that you got to follow through and get in touch with the police and get started on that immediately. No longer can you say, well, that's not my problem. Back in the day, I had a large campus there at Olympic. We had 3,000 kids, 200 and something employees, but we only had like three persons responsible. And not that way. Now they have 200. So if you get a check and you're not a volunteer, you are a responsible person. This means you. And don't matter if it's Friday and it's 4 o'clock and you're ready to go home. That does not matter. These kinds of things do not wait. Oh, I'll handle that first thing on Monday. No, you won't. That's you call the police at 4 o'clock on Friday. That's what happens. Now, and don't be confused about, well, it was weekend or school was out or they were on a field trip. You call the police right now and you get started. That's the law since 2020. It was not always that way. It is that way now. Dr. Maraglia has been watching a couple of court cases. You want to fill us in on those, Dr. Maraglia? About
Well,
the assistant principals not reporting?
one thing I wanted to say was everything that we have talked about this semester is critical for you as you are looking to go into administration and again, keeping your house, keeping your job. But I would have to say, in my experience, the two hot things that that make them more important than anything else, but what everybody's looking at is all the social media crap that you have to deal with in a school and Title IX. Because there have been so many lawsuits in the last few years that people are bringing against school districts and individual people within the school mishandling these situations. I mean, Charlotte Mecklenburg has seen a ton of them. They've seen a ton of principals and APs getting suspended for not reporting or not handling or trying to hide things because, it's a bad look if people hear that these things are happening in your school. And the most important thing I can stress to you is if you have a situation like this, do not go it alone. For your own, I mean, you've got to get law enforcement involved because it's a crime, but you need to be talking to somebody in your district and get support through this. Do not ever feel like you're alone. You make sure you reach out to your Title IX liaison in your district to make sure that you have support. And you cannot ask them a stupid question. You ask them questions, you follow exactly what they say. You do not want to be out there by yourself and not have any kind of backup with that. Okay. That I cannot stress that enough about how that is such a big thing in the media and in the public right now. But I did share a court case with you all a few weeks ago where the assistant, and I'm sure you all probably remember where I think it was the 6-year-old child shot a teacher in Virginia and she just sued and won the case. And that was the civil case. Now the assistant principal is going to be brought up on criminal charges. and will probably be doing some time. And this is going to be a precedent-setting case. There's not really been a case like this before where someone has been being held responsible civilly and criminally for negligence, but that's what it is. She did not handle things appropriately, and now she's going to be paying the price. And not only is she going to lose her job, she's going and maybe her home, but she's going to be sitting in jail. And we don't want that for anybody. And we want to protect our children. We always want to do what's best for children, and us doing the right thing and following the right procedures is what we are bound to do. But I did share that with you. And if you haven't followed up, I cannot remember what the monetary amount. I think she was suing
20
for like
million
40
in
million. Did
Newport.
she get?
She got 20 in Newport News.
Okay. I thought it was maybe about half of it, um, but that's something that you all need to be aware of. And when I saw that was happening, I thought it was very timely. I knew we were going to be talking about this subject matter, and that's why I wanted to share it with you so you could see that this isn't just something that happened 10 years ago. This is happening right now with people who are in situations very similar to yours. And just to make sure that I don't want you to be alone and dangling out there, because if something goes sideways, you know who's going to be held responsible.
Now, to follow up on that, she didn't report there was a report of a gun. She didn't follow up, didn't
Right.
follow through, didn't get police involved. That's what we're talking about. Now, prior to this, three 3 years ago, we had the first case ever where there was a civil, then a criminal. But in that case, two assistant principals were both convicted civilly and lost the criminal case. But there was they weren't being recommended for jail time. That was a non-report of sexual assault, sexual harassment, sexual assault, and that set the precedent for what's going on in Newport News right now. Not only or did she lose the civil case, the criminal case now it will be a criminal offense in terms of she's going to be looking at prison time. Now the two administrators in Bellingham, Washington were not looking at prison time, but they did get a conviction. They got misdemeanor convictions in court. But now we're going a step further. Now we're talking about not only the loss of your money, but your liberty as well, your freedom. And so, again, call the people in your district, but remembering back to North Carolina and South Carolina law 115C 288G, you have to make reports to law enforcement and the superintendent. That's what we're talking about. And it's in that order. You get in touch with law enforcement, and then you get in touch with the superintendent or the designee, the people set up in your county. Don't go it alone. The law says you're required to do that. Now, if it's an attendance issue, you call the superintendent. But if it's a law violation, it gets very clear. There's two statutes in that. One says to make reports to the school superintendent and law enforcement. One says law enforcement and the school superintendent. That's what we're talking about here. You call them first. You involve them from the very beginning. You don't start your investigation and say, wait a minute, a crime occurred, I better call the law. You call them up front. Anything sexual, your radar ought to go up that, oh, I need to get before I call the first person in or ask the first question, I need to get in touch with law enforcement.
And your district may also have some very specific steps for you to take. And you probably have been through some Title IX training as teachers, but you will have additional Title IX training as a
Uh-oh, we lost her.
why you can't ask enough questions. Make sure that you're following everything to the T. In CMS, we had a particular platform that we had to use to report everything. There's particular letters that you have to send. There's just there's all these many steps you have to follow. And even if you're doing what you're supposed to and you're letting law enforcement know, and then you're letting your school system know, you still got to make sure you're still handling everything in that proper order. and not leaving anything out, because they'll get you for that too. Even if you're trying your best and you're letting the people know, you still have to make sure you're following those procedures. And it can be very scary and intimidating, and you can feel very much alone. I've had a few that I've had to report, um, and I didn't hesitate to ask questions because it didn't matter how many trainings I sat in. I wanted to make sure I was doing properly. And so don't ever feel like you can't ask questions.
Mhm. Now, at the end of the day, we're governed, by in loco parentis, in place of the parent. That's the standard of care that we're supposed to give the students that we're in charge of. We can't ever forget that. That we're there to see about the health and the welfare of these children. Yes, we want to educate them, but our first charge, under the law, is to be in place of the parent to protect these children, not to protect our egos, not to protect our public relations. I told you I was in class a couple, 3 weeks ago in Goldsboro, one of my doc students, and she wanted to put up a social media post because our school was getting bad media. And I said, no, you better get in touch with the central office. Don't get into a Twitter war with these people. Um, get in touch with them and follow the directives that they give. Make sure that you don't go this alone. You don't get yourself out there on a limb. Um, and so, as it turned out, they did not want her to be involved in a social media battle with these people. Which was, I thought, was very sound advice, because I knew that if she'd been my principal, I was supervising, I wouldn't have let her got involved. But for some reason, we think that because social media is so prevalent now, that we can just go on social media, follow whatever protocol your district has, and I'll guarantee you it does not include getting on social media and start firing back at people. Remember, you don't speak to the press or social media. You don't get on any media platform without permission from your district, specifically from your public information office. That is not how you combat this. You don't get down in the mud with these people. That's not the right thing to do. Uh, that's always my final caution on this. Now, as I said, there's a 23-minute video on Title IX that I want you to watch. We've made sure that we're not going to keep you have time to watch that tonight. We won't play it, and you can play it when you want to. But I want you to watch that Title IX video. I want you to know what your responsibilities are. Um, Hopefully, you've gotten a good dose of school law this semester. I'm not expecting you to be expert, but you know where to go and look now. You know when you get that feeling like the hair standing up on the back of your neck. I better ask somebody. What does Snoop say? If you don't know, you better ask somebody. That's what school law is all about. You better ask somebody. Make sure that your communication with your district, understand that you don't know it all, but they've got people that can help and guide you. Make sure you involve them. Don't knee jerk and start sending out emails or social media posts or any of that stuff. That's not how we handle things in this business. I know some people, they stay on media all the time. That's not a good idea if you're in school administration. Not a good idea. Well, I certainly haven't. Y'all have been a great group. I have certainly enjoyed it this semester. Dr. Maraglia, thank you for all your help and input. It's always good to have people that are still in the trenches and their view and perspective on what's going on every day in school. It's been a minute since I was in school. I've been doing this for about 15 years now, after 32 years in the business. So this is my 47th year in the business. So I have a lot of time. I don't know if I have any knowledge, but it's certainly not, it changes every day. It changes every month, every year. And that's my last charge to you, is you got to be a lifelong learner. You got to keep up with this stuff. Don't stop with your master's degree. Keep on going. Become the best version of yourself. Do all that you can do. Dr. Maraglia, I'll let you do the final recap for the semester.
Well, I also want to say that I really enjoyed working with this group. It's been kind of nice having such a small group,
Very.
especially like with our case studies and things like that. I've really enjoyed it in your career, and I wish you so much luck with what you're going to do. This is a noble profession, despite the hits that we take on a daily basis. And a very wise man once said this to me, and I repeat it often. I'm on two wise quotes that I have heard from a wise man. Remember that hope is not a plan. Okay, so always keep that in mind. And the other thing that I feel that is so timely is that our country depends on an educated populace. And again, what you're doing is very noble. We need our children to be educated. We need our adults to be educated. And I, again, wish you so much luck in the future. Keep in touch. Let us know how things are going, because we always like to hear back from what our students are doing. And that's really all I've got, is I just really wish the best for all of you. Thank you so much for what you've brought to the table this semester.
Absolutely. Thank you all. All right.
Thank you,
Anybody have
Dr.
anything
Lamb,
for the
and
good of the group before we go?
I just want to say thank you, Dr. Lamb and Dr. Maraglia. It's been a lot of work, a lot of work, but I know for me and maybe some others, this has kind of been I'm not going to say easiest class, but the most enjoyable.
Thank you.
I think I can say
I'll
that.
take that.
It hasn't been as stressful, I think, and some of the others think as well. So thank you so much to both of you for what you've done with us this semester.
Yeah. I told you, if nothing else, we'd have a laugh. We'd have some laughs and have a good time. Told you that the first night. That this is we don't do stress. You got enough in your job. We try not to do stress.
Pass that on. Pass that on.
I'll do it.
Pass
All
that
right.
on.
Thank you all. We appreciate you.
Have a good night.
Good night.